me to understand that as
including Hanover, Madison, as we go to StormView HD radar and track this thunderstorm that has a lot of rotation in it. This is moving off to the east, so if you're around Madison, you need to get into a safe place right now. I want to bring you in close and show you what's going on with this radar vantage point as we track a thunderstorm that's had the capability of rotating winds. And up to this point, we've seen that rotation mainly aloft in the thunderstorm. We don't have confirmation of a tornado down on the ground or anything, but there is some wicked stuff ongoing in this storm. And there's also a lot of hail that's happening up around Smyrna. Lightning strikes, and this is just a few moments away from hitting the town of Madison. Some of that rotation right now over the town of Hanover as it moves off to the east. This has come on strong just in the last 15 to 20 minutes. Milton, Craig, Carrollton, and Vevey along the Ohio River, you also need to be prepared for this, because if it holds together with what we're looking at right now, you would be in the path of this possible rotation and eventually maybe finding some ground truth to where there could be a tornado touching down. Jefferson County, Trimble County, tornado warning until 2:30. You can see just a few moments away from getting into the worst part of the storm in Madison. You don't have much more time to act, but it does look like some of the worst part of this storm is going to head directly towards Madison, where you see these winds right now that are ongoing up around Smyrna and then down towards Republican. A lot of that bright pink showing up. Even if we don't have a tornado, we're looking at the likelihood of some winds that could be gusting up around 75 miles per hour. This is about as wicked as they come. As we put a storm track on here, I want to move this over towards Madison, crossing the river into northern Trimble County, and then eventually towards Carrollton. You can see the ETA in 5 to 10 minutes. It's going to be in Madison, and then Milton, and then over towards Prestonville will be in the path of this. So this is what we're looking at, and this is another product right now. I want to go over to the weather map and show you exactly what we're dealing with here. Basically, this keeps it really simple for you to understand. I've taken off all of the clutter, and we are looking at wind shear, where the winds are doing some wild stuff. Basically looking for rotation, wind shear that would have winds coming in and away to the radar. And right there, that bright pop of blue that is tracking to the east, this spot here is what we're watching for. Hanover, you need to be in a basement if you have that. We have a lot of rotation embedded in this very strong thunderstorm. At any given point, that could turn into a tornado. Now, this is Jefferson County, Indiana. Also into Trimble County, the far northern part of Trimble County, as we look up towards Milton and Carrollton in the next 30 minutes or so. This severe thunderstorm with the capability of rotating winds would be tracking in your direction. So one of the largest populated areas as you get to the west of Carrollton is obviously beautiful Madison, Indiana, Clifty Falls. This is a dangerous place to be up along 421 as we move this rotating wind right in this general path. So that's what we've been watching with this particular view. Now, this severe thunderstorm definitely has the capability of hail that could be 1.5 inches in diameter. We've already seen a lot of the reports on the radar we're looking at right now, just to the northwest of Madison, where we have the likelihood of some golf ball size hail as this motors off to the east. But when it comes back to the rotation, the winds embedded in this thunderstorm, it sticks out like a sore thumb. I want to zoom in real close here. This thing is one lone supercell that's out there all by itself, and typically that's when you're looking at some of the worst conditions that can happen. So the town of Republican, just to the north there, up around West Deputy Pike Road, we have some of that strong rotation right in through here. Where you see that pop of orange, and I'm going to put some estimated winds on here as we're now showing some gate-to-gate winds of around 50 miles per hour with that view, and then another one there around 41 miles per hour. So what we're looking at in this storm, you know, winds that could be easily to 80 miles per hour, right there, front and center. You see velocity winds 80 miles per hour. A lot of times we'll get caught up if there's a tornado or not. I don't even necessarily want you to look at this and say, well, if there's not a confirmed tornado, let's not be too concerned about it, because we have the possibility for at least hurricane force winds. It could be 75 miles per hour or greater. That's at a bare minimum. But the way this thing has been spinning up and intensifying with each and every radar update that we get, about every 2 to 3 minutes, it is getting stronger. And it's getting stronger, and that is not the trend that we want to see. Meteorologist Mark Weinberg's just now checking into the studio. He's getting ready to hop on here in a few minutes, as we've been watching this all morning and all afternoon with the entire weather team. So Madison, right now, you basically have a couple more minutes before this potential tornado, and it's looking more and more likely like we could have a tornado developing that is moving in your general direction. I also want to show you another vantage point here. We're going to do a split screen and go to look at two different parts of this storm. As we're looking at this side and then this side, there is a curl, there's a hook, there's that triangle right there. That's called a tornadic vortex signature. When the radar picks up these rotating winds, as it gets more and more intense, you're going to pop a tornadic vortex signature showing the potential is there. And that is a textbook supercell with the inflow winds, and then wrapping around it some of those cooler winds on the backside with the very strong rotating winds where we'd have the chance for a tornado. Now, currently, as we come over to this side, this is what we'd look at in a thunderstorm to try to figure out if there's any debris being lofted up in the storm. And so far, we haven't seen much evidence of that, and we're not finding evidence of that right now. So that is at least a little bit of good news. So the likelihood that a tornado is on the ground right now is a bit lower. So we're hoping that would be the trend. Right now, as long as we can hold on to this bright purple and we don't get a donut hole showing up in there, then the odds that a tornado would be touching down at this very moment is a little bit more slim. But when you look inside of this storm, and you see that tornadic vortex signature, and you see just a classic hook, a classic supercell, I mean, at any given point, you could get a tornado to touch down. So that's what we're tracking, is it is just moments away from moving directly on top of Madison. Mark's been checking some things out. He's come in the last few minutes. This is a nasty one, isn't it, Mark?
I know. This is one we were worried about. So what we refer to this as a tail end Charlie. When a storm is at the tail of a line, the problem becomes is that it can access more rotation. Number two, this storm is sitting right on the warm front. And this had shown up in the data, and I had mentioned this last night, that there was this potential for us to get rotating storms on the southern part of the line. Now, there's a positive and a negative here. So the positive here is that this is not going to be in our area much longer. It basically has to go through Jefferson County, Indiana. Now, the bad news is this is going to go right through Madison. Madison, I really need you to listen for a moment. I really need you to listen. I need you to be in your safe spot. I need you to be downstairs. I need you underneath something in the center part of your house, and you've got to keep away from windows. We do not have a confirmation of a tornado touchdown at this point, but listen, Madison, this is rotating strongly, and you have 2 minutes before this is in town. We've got 13 minutes from Manville, Milton 17 minutes from now, and Craig 28 minutes. The rotation on this is significant right now. You've got to take this seriously, Madison. A tornado could form at any moment from this storm. Jude, if we could, I would like to look at correlation coefficient. So correlation coefficient is what Jude was mentioning. What we're going to try to do is look inside of the hook. So what you see here is what we call a split V. So we know for sure that there is hail. The updraft is so strong that it's causing the what you would call reflectivity here to spread out, kind of like eagle's wings. And then here is the hook, and you can see the donut where the hook is located. So looking at this, we're just west. Jude, if you could, can you give me velocity on one side? Because I just want to inspect what we're looking at on some of these areas here where we have some of these donut holes.
And that large hail is going to be right on top of Clifty Falls Park right now.
Okay, so Clifty Falls Park, be ready. We're talking hail possibly to the size of golf balls. We're talking potential significant hail. Okay, Jude, now let's go back over to correlation coefficient. So I'm going to keep my finger on where that area of rotation is located. So we're not seeing a confirmation of a tornado on the ground right now. But again, if you are near the Madison area or if you're in the northern part of Trimble County, this is a very strong and serious storm. Jude, you know, it worries me for a couple of reasons. It is very mature, and it's heading right towards Madison. And it may not have a tornado on it at this immediate moment, but if it does generate one, it's a bad place for this to produce a tornado. And obviously the hail threat on top of everything else makes this concerning.
I'm looking at a map here, Mark, and there's a Comfort Inn that's over just off of Ohio River Scenic Byway. And that Comfort Inn right over and through here is directly where some of the strongest rotation is. And this is on a beeline into downtown Madison. So this is going to follow right along West Main Street into downtown Madison. So the strongest winds, the strongest rotation is on the southern side. Then you head north up in this zone where you see that just giant blob of red, golf ball size hail. So that's when you get a little bit farther north up towards Clifty Falls State Park. As you move up towards, there's a Brittany's Brick Oven Pizza. You've got Madison Municipal Airport in the hail zone, but downtown Madison.
Jude, I'm concerned. We may just have dropped a tornado. I'm going to show you the correlation coefficient. I think a tornado may have just. I think a tornado's formed.
I would say confirmed.
Okay, let me put the velocity on there. We've got a tornado on the ground. Madison, get ready. We've got a tornado coming towards Madison at this moment. Tornado confirmed right now on radar.
That's right at that Comfort Inn. I mean, it is directly on top of that Comfort Inn right here.
This is a dangerous situation. Your life is at risk right now in Madison. Tornado confirmed right now on radar just west of Madison. Jude, that is a classic tornado debris signature.
Right along the Ohio River. You're talking about the Ohio River Scenic Byway. I'm telling you, coming right into Main Street, into Madison, where we have the likelihood of winds, you know, 75 to 100 miles per hour, definitely at a minimum being indicated on the radar at this particular point. Right here, we mentioned you don't want to see that donut hole.
Weather Service confirmed as well.
In the purple. So that donut hole is there, and it's now into Madison.
So this is bad. This is bad for Madison. Madison, this is not a time where we're talking about potential tornado. It doesn't look as notable right now as it did on the prior scan, but I guarantee you a tornado touchdown west of Madison, and that would be near the North Birchling Road area. It is right into Madison. You can see the hook on this. I mentioned this yesterday, and I tweeted it last night, that it was unclear within the data if we were going to get a scenario like this, but it was distinctly possible, and if it did occur along that warm front, you would get rotators. Madison, listen to me. Let's talk for a second. You've got a tornado potentially heading towards you. There's kids in school right now. Parents understand the schools are going to make the decisions to keep the kids safe. You need to stay off the roads. So where do you go? You just think of the word duck. I need you to go downstairs. I need you to get to the center part of your house. I need you to keep away from windows. I need you to get underneath something. If you can get underneath a table to protect you if there's falling debris. But make decisions right now to not go outside. I know when a tornado warning is issued, the first thing people think is, I got to get my phone and video it. You may capture the video of your life ending. I want to be clear on this. This is a purple tornado confirmed on the ground. Don't make the decision to be out there with your camera and your life end that way. That's not the way I want my story to end. And it's that serious right now with a tornado right in the Madison area. If you're in Madison right now, you must be in your tornado safe location. Milton, let's think right now. You've basically got about 8 minutes before it's in your area. You need to be taking your tornado safety precautions. Manville and Brooksville. This is a dangerous, life-threatening situation. Jude, how are we looking on correlation coefficient? Because it became very clear there was a tornado touchdown. Does it still look like it's on the ground doing damage, or is it not as clear as it once was?
I would say there's definitely something going on in there. Maybe not as clear as it once was, but you know, as we go back to that other view and show you the correlation coefficient, there's still some of that donut hole showing up. And also, as this starts to curve a little bit more to the southeast, this is going to run along the river and then move towards Carrollton. You don't have much time in Carrollton. This storm is a true supercell. It is a beast. It's all by itself. There is nothing to disturb it. So it's not weakening. You know, this is continuing to draw in extremely warm air, volatile air, to keep this generating this wind potential and the possibility that there's a tornado. We have a confirmed tornado on the ground. That happened a few moments ago, and this is going to move over towards Carrollton. So that's the next place, General Butler State Park. You've got to be ready for this. You have a little time right now before it gets over towards Carroll County. It's now just to the east of downtown Madison. Let's go to another vantage point on the radar, and we'll show you that correlation coefficient. Okay. That's just some fancy meteorological words. Basically,
Jude, it looks bad again. It looks like it just came out.
Basically looking for debris being lofted up in the air, and when it detects that debris, it disturbs this purple color, and you get something like that. That is exactly what we do not want to see. That is the tornado right there. That is tree branches, the rocks, and anything that those winds are picking up. Unfortunately, that could mean shingles and roofs and parts from people's homes and apartment complexes and things like that as it moves off to the east. So confirmed tornado on the ground. Now to the east, just to the east of Madison as we move along 421 and to the east there. So it's not over a densely populated area. It's in between Central and then moving towards Brooksburg. But Mark, it does have a little bit of that east-southeasterly push, which sometimes you get that right turn a little bit, and that's definitely indicative of what happens in a tornadic cell.
Yeah, I mean, we have, it's a high-end danger situation here. So it appears that a tornado just hit Madison. I'm looking into the radar right now to see what we have in terms of max gate-to-gate shear. So what we're looking at, Jude, is about 110 knots, which would be about 135 miles an hour. That could mean, conceivably, we could be talking about a strong tornado that just moved through Madison. Now, if you can safely let us know what's occurring out of the Madison area, you will notice that the rotation went right through Madison. And as it came out of Madison, Jude mentioned this, but it was very clear that debris was being lofted. And Jude, we call this the correlation coefficient. So what it's looking at is the radar's trying to see, are all the particles the same size? And you would expect, obviously, with rain, everything's going to be the same size. Now, all of a sudden, it detects that the particle sizes are way different. What is that? That's debris getting lofted, and it's getting lofted right under the area of rotation that you've got here now.
Look at that.
That's heading towards Manville.
You're finding 91 mile per hour winds there,
right.
A spot of 80 mile per hour winds. This is bad news, and I wouldn't think it's going to weaken in the next 10 to 15 minutes. Sometimes, you know, you see a thunderstorm that's going to get messed with, and you're like, well, it's probably going to lose a little bit of steam. But this thing, even if it does weaken in 15 to 20 minutes, you've got a hail threat. You have downburst winds that could come out of it. This is a beast. This is all by itself, and this is the worst thing that we could even possibly see right now.
And one of the realities here is, and I want to prepare you ahead of time, we have what we refer to as a coverage area. Coverage area is not determined by us. At some point, this is going to leave what we refer to as our coverage area. At that point, it would move into the Cincinnati coverage area. I know that we do have some people that still watch out of Vivi, so I'm probably going to stay with this a little bit beyond Jefferson County. But if you're in Milton or Brooksburg right now, it's a tornado confirmed situation. There's not many of these, Jude, where we go on air where it gives you a pit in your stomach. Yeah. But when it's going through a heavily populated area, when you know kids are at school and you know the fear they're facing, we want to try to make sure you understand the threat, and we want to give you the information you need to make life-saving decisions. And so there, by the way, you can see, this is when the tornado moved through Madison. You can see it went right through Madison, and now I'm going to take you to the most recent. So the most recent is showing that the debris is maybe diffusing out just a little bit.
Spread up a little bit, maybe pushed out into the storm.
Yes.
You know, radar technology today is not like it was 5 years, 10 years ago. You see something like that, radar doesn't lie.
Right.
I mean, when you see that.
Oh, look at that. Look at that signature, too.
Representing, you know, debris being lofted up in the air. It's telling you what's happening. It's not a mistake. You know, years ago, there was confusion. It was like, well, it might not be. But in today's world, with today's technology, That's a tornado. You know it, and it's happening.
And I'm looking for any pictures that we can get. If anybody is safely able to send me a picture, Twitter, which is now X, please get those images to me so that we can get that information out there. We do know that it does appear, basically via radar and via what we have seen, that a tornado did indeed hit the Madison area. Jude, we're also getting pictures out of that area that there was golf ball size hail. I'm starting to get some images in here. I'm going to go over, Jude, to StormView 3D really quickly, because I'm going to see if we can get some of these images on the air of what it looks like, because we're starting to get people sending us images from the area. So we may be able to get the ability to show pictures of what's actually occurred here.
You go on and do that, and I want to point something out here where we do have that hook that's still intact. What I mean, you know, that big curlicue that went through Madison, now on a line towards Carrollton, making that turn to the south and southeast.
Right
it's
mover.
Probably going to stay along the Ohio River, and I mean maybe just north, like a mile north of Carrollton, unless it moves farther south, but that's way too close for comfort. This is going to be in between Vevey, Carrollton, and Gent. My father-in-law lives up here in Vevey. I hope my wife's watching right now, because I need her to give him a call. He's up in Vevey, and there's going to be large hail, potentially straight line wind damage of 75 miles per hour, and still that possibility of a tornado. So Carrollton, here it comes, Brooksburg to Carrollton, in that path of dangerous rotation, and still the likelihood, at least on the radar, that that tornadic signature could mean a tornado remains on the ground. And I had a sneak peek at some of the images that were coming into Mark.
Here's a picture, by the way.
It's ugly. Let's
go to StormView 3D, by the way. Tia Jenkins sent us this picture. This is when the tornado was likely moving through Madison. Guys, this is going to be on weather pics. So if you can get us weather pics, you'll be able to see. So here is when the area of rotation, or likely a tornado, just moved through the Madison area. I want to also show you some of the hail sizes from the Madison area. Jude, take a look at that hail.
We have a debris ball.
This is super dangerous right now, heading just north of Carrollton. The rotation has gone way up, Jude.
Debris ball. Hop over there. I'm going to get you.
Let's go, Jude, if we could. I want to just do an assessment quickly on StormView 3D. So what we have now is another confirmed tornado. A couple of things to note here. Jude accurately assessed that this made a right move. So Jude, if we could, let's zoom it out just a little bit with reflectivity first. The reason I want to do that is we have a very mature supercell. I want to be clear on one thing. It is very possible that this may produce a strong tornado, not just a weaker tornado. You're like, Mark, all tornadoes are strong.
It's on the ground right now.
It is.
I'm telling you.
And I think it may be a strong tornado. So you can see we have a huge supercell. Jude had made the note that it made a move to the right. What does that mean? Well, have you ever seen a baseball pitcher throw a curveball? When they spin the ball, it curves down. Okay, what does that have to do with weather? This thing is rotating so hard that it changed the direction of movement of the storm. We saw this on March 2nd, 2012. We saw it on Mayfield. These are called right movers. Right movers mean you have significant rotation. And I just want to tell you, this is a serious tornado that's on the ground right now in the northern part of Carroll County. The blues here inside of the pink are extremely dangerous. Jude, if we could, I just want to look at velocity, and I want to look at velocity first, and then I want to look at so here's the rotation. So it is a tight, compact area of rotation just south of Brooksburg. This is just north of the Ohio River, just south of the Ohio River. Jude, can we move this back just a few frames? I want to go back and forth briefly because I want to make sure that we have exact motion on this and where it's going, because I'm very worried if this right moves too hard, it could go into Carrollton.
It's going to be right in Carrollton.
It's going to be in Carrollton.
Close to it.
Carrollton. Let's prepare here. What I need you to do is I need you to get into the center part of your house. If you have a basement, I need you to go to your basement. I need you to stay away from windows. If you've got a small tub in the middle of your house, go there. If you're in a mobile home, you've got to make sure you go to a safe location. If you need to evacuate, do it now. But you've got to take this seriously. We've got a strong area of rotation. It's going to be between Carrollton and right across onto the southern part of Indiana. It is going to be very close. Now you can see there's a hole within there. That hole is confirming that we have a tornado on the ground. And you'll notice that the warning is not your traditional red tornado warning. It's purple, which means we believe we have a confirmed tornado on the ground. And I don't think it's a believe. I think we do have a tornado on the ground doing damage in Carrollton. Jude, you're continuing to gather information. What do you know at this point now?
That tornado went right near the town of Locust.
Okay.
Then along the Ohio River. It's moving in between downtown Carrollton and then just above the Ohio River into southern Indiana, Treasure Cove Campground. I'm telling you, if you are not in a safe place, there are really bad winds, and the likelihood that a tornado is coming through right now. General Butler State Park into downtown historic Carrollton, Treasure Cove Campground along Highway 56. It's there. We have confirmed tornado, at least when you look at the radar images.
Jude, we have it. I just got a picture, by the way. I'm going to get it to you as quick as possible. But it is definitely a tornado on the ground.
Okay, we're going to get that loaded in. What is the location that we're about to see? Do you know?
I'm putting it on right now. This is in Milton. If we could pop this on WeatherPix, Jude, you can speak to it. You'll be able to see the debris on the ground and the funnel coming down. If we can pop WeatherPix into Jude's monitor so Jude can explain what we're seeing.
So this would have been previously maybe 10 minutes ago when it was in northern Trimble County.
Agreed.
In the Milton area. We'll get that loaded in for you in a second.
There it is, right down the middle.
Right down the middle. Look at and it's got the water. So this is right out near the river. There's water coming up. You've got spray. You've got debris in the middle. So no doubt about it, tornado on the ground. We don't know if this means the winds are 85, 115, 130. We don't know, but we know a tornado's on the ground, and this is a life-threatening situation. This was coming from Milton about 10, 15 minutes ago. Now as we come into Carrollton, look at this thing wrapped up even more, Mark. As we go back to the radar.
It looks like, Jude, it may just slip on the north side of the Ohio River.
Okay.
But here's the thing. I mean, it's so close.
This is Highway 56, and that is where we have Treasure Cove Campground, Point Park location. It's right there. That's where you would have a debris ball embedded in that. That might not even be that much rain. That could be a lot of, debris and rain mixed together. But this dry slot, that notch there, that is the warm air just surging into this supercell and allowing this thing to breathe in the fuel. So this is what you get a lot of times before a tornado, the calm. Right. A lot of people will say, well, there was nothing going on. Then all of a sudden the sound of a freight train came in out of nowhere. So there's the calm, and then that tornadic setup right along the Ohio River, Highway 56. It is near Carrollton, maybe 2 miles north of Carrollton.
It's close.
Maybe just north of the highest populated area as we head into Carroll County. VV's going to end up in the hail court, looks like. Likelihood there from
Absolutely.
VV. And then back to the west, just due west of VV, you're probably going to see inch and a half in diameter, maybe 2 inch in diameter hailstones with this classic supercell. This is the worst supercell we have seen so far in this very early 2024.
Yeah, I mean, and one of the problems in this scenario is it's a storm that's isolated, and we call this a tail end Charlie. So some of the data indicated this potential was out there. Some of the data did not. I mentioned last night we call this a conditional risk, where the atmosphere is quite favorable for tornadoes and for damaging winds. And it's just a matter of whether you can get the storms in the right place. Obviously, this cell is isolated from the group, and it is extremely dangerous. You have what we refer to as a full-body supercell. You can see there's massive hail in this thing, and I would argue you're probably going to get hail that's larger than golf ball, that could approach baseball size, and that is just near the VV area, and it's going to go through Warsaw. We've got the tornado potential here just north of Carrollton. Now, just if I'm being completely clear with you, we're getting far away from the radar now. A radar has to look slightly up in the atmosphere. If you think about it, it has to, or the radar beam is going to hit trees. And what that means is the farther you get away from the radar, the higher up you're looking. And that does start to create some real distinct challenges in terms of what exactly we're seeing. My opinion is, if there is a tornado, Jude, can we zoom into just in the Carrollton area, because this particular run of radar seems to have a better view now of that rotation center, which is just a pinch north of Carrollton. So this is going to cross over the Ohio River. Jude, what road are we looking at here, just north?
That's 56.
Okay, so this right now is almost on top of 56 and will be within the next 2 minutes. So this will be going across the state highway here about 3 miles to the northeast of the Carrollton area, which then brings up the possibility that this can obviously cross 71. So you know, in Carrollton, when you start to go up that hill, now we need to start to be aware that if you're in Carrollton, when you're starting to go up that hill, don't do it. Don't do it. If you have any friends that are driving along 71 heading towards Cincinnati, you must tell them, stop. Stop, pull to the side of the road before you get to Carrollton. This is a life-threatening situation with a dangerous potential tornado on the ground. I would say I was sure a little bit earlier. It still looks very likely, but I don't think it's a slam dunk as much. Easter Day right now, significant rotation, potentially tornado, moving in 3 minutes. Etheridge 15 minutes from now. Carson 18 minutes from now, and Glencoe around 34. So in Carrollton, keep in your tornado safe location, which is a downstairs location. I will tell you, there's an easy way to remember this. When I started doing weather many years ago, I used the term duck, because duck was easy to remember. If there's a tornado coming towards me, how do I stay safe? Well, I duck. Downstairs, U stands for underneath something, C stands for center part of the house, and K stands for keep away from windows. So this is an easy way to remember. In the hail core is VV right now. You're taking potentially golf ball or larger size hail. But you know, it looks to me like, Jude, that area where there could be or there is a tornado is going to go right between, on 71, between VV and Carrollton. It's somewhat of a rural area along 71, but as you know, there's so many big rigs that are moving up and down there, and everybody, if you're trying to travel between here and Cincinnati, that's the only way to go.
You're looking at I-71. Mile marker 44 is where you would get off to get into Carrollton, go past General Butler State Park, and then heading north on 71 up to about mile marker 50. That is the sweet spot where we would have the likelihood for a tornado. And some of that rotation is going to be in the other relatively large community for Carroll County is up here around Gent. If you were following along with the news story the other day, that gentleman that won $3 million on the Powerball, or on that scratch-off lottery ticket, that was in the town of Gent, right up around here. And that is exactly where this strongest rotation is going to be showing up within the next couple of minutes. So from Carrollton along 42 on the Kentucky side and then 56 on the Indiana side, those are the two highways that parallel there. I mean, if you're from that area, you know all too well about that. And then as you take that north up towards VV and Gent, right in here, you've gone from the hail core. Now you're going to get into the calm of the storm. Don't think the storm is over. You might not even have raindrops for a couple minutes, and the wind is calm, but as soon as this backside rocks and rolls on through, you're going to pick up very strong winds, and potentially that tornado shows up. You know, in terms of finding debris, a lot of times you look for a real defined donut hole. We don't necessarily have that. We have all sorts of ugliness showing up. It's not uniform, but that tells us we have hail particles when you go to this side. We have possibly debris that's been lofted up into the storm and then shifted off to the east and northeast, maybe up around the Kentucky Speedway, all the way up towards Switzerland County. This could be debris from the tornado that was on the ground 15 minutes ago, Mark.
And we're getting some reports now that there is at least a trailer flipped in Milton County, and there could be somebody trapped inside. If we could just make sure our news department follows up in Jefferson County, Indiana, and Trimble County, Kentucky immediately. Can we get those emergency managers and find out what exactly we know has happened in those counties? But we're getting some reports out of Jefferson County that there is damage near the Milton area. All of this matches up with what we have seen seen very well on radar, what we know has happened. We continue with a tornado warning here for Trimble County as things stand right now. We're going to continue. We've got a tornado crossing 71 potentially. It is right near the VV area. Jude, VV is going to be getting a chunk of hail here very shortly. A serious, maybe 3-inch hail, which is possibly baseballs, could be moving in. And you can see that rotation Jude noted there is in the neighborhood of around 75 to 100 miles an hour. So Jude, you know, we're probably talking about potentially EF1, EF2 style tornado here. This could very easily be a strong tornado doing damage right now. And even beyond that, VV may get hit by a tornado and baseball size hail. And this kind of reminds us back when we've some of our events that we've seen over the years. You normally get that hail first, and then you go into a little bit of lull, and then what comes afterwards is the tornado. So sometimes people will hear the hail pounding on the house, feel like, okay, I've got a little bit of a lull, and then boom, the tornado comes in right after.
So VV might even end up with 2 rounds of hail and those rotating winds, because that could come back on the backside with the possibility for hail, and that rotation.
71.5 dBz. So that means that the radar is seeing something extremely dense in there.
Which is hail.
71 dBz, almost 72 dBz.
Could be baseball.
It could be baseball.
Tell you what I'm going to do.
It's really dangerous right now if you live in the VV area.
I'm going to call my father-in-law right now.
And you know, one of the things I'll tell you
is
we have family and we have friends just like you guys do out there. And you know, if the meteorologist is going to call his family, just understand we feel it's that concerning. And understand, you know, what we're telling you, we're telling our family and our friends as well. So I just want you to understand we're really concerned about what's occurring here right now. Jude's going to let family know in the VV area that they may very well be looking at a tornado here momentarily. And honestly, I don't think that 1 3/4 inch hail, it may be bigger. And it may be within the VV area in the next 4 to 6 minutes. So VV, you've got to hunker down right now. Be ready. Very large hail will be in your area momentarily. The rotation is almost on top of VV. I will say that the rotation may have come down just a pinch, but that doesn't mean that we're not still producing a tornado on this thing. The signature is not as strong as it once was. Jude, you spoke with someone in VV right now.
Right.
What did they say that they're seeing?
So spoke to my father-in-law, and he said, well, it's clear right now. It's over. We just came up from the basement. I said, Rob, it's not. You're in that spot where it fools you. So he's going back down. He said they had 10 minutes worth of hail.
Okay.
And they went down into the basement. And that's the thing. You get into that notch where you think it's finished. And I was like, man, it's coming right back around on the backside of it.
And that's the thing, guys. You know, we really want you to know that there are things that happen when you go through these thunderstorms. There's moments where you feel like, you know, you're preparing for the worst. And then there's moments where it may feel like it's improving. And sometimes that can give you a false sense of security. As you mentioned, Jude kind of referred to that as the notch. And so what that notch is, I'm just going to show you briefly, but that notch basically is air getting sucked into the rotation area. So what happens is you get the hail, it just starts pelting you. And then you get into that inflow notch, and it may get breezy. You'll see that it kind of looks like it's over. And then the tornado comes in behind. So you've got to remember, we'll tell you when it's all clear. If you're in Carrollton right now, you've got the all clear. If you are in Madison right now, you're all clear. At least on this initial wave. There's potential for more tomorrow night. But if you're in VV right now, and I want to even look a little bit downstream from VV because it's, again, it's going to be leaving our viewing area completely, and at some point we're going to have to release this back to programming. But if you have any friends that are in Warsaw, specifically really Glencoe and Napoleon right now, you really need to be concerned. And then down the line, if this thing holds, it would be near Crittenden and it would go along 75. So at some point, you know, this will go into the Cincinnati counties and potentially Lexington counties. At that point, the TV stations there will continue to get you up to date. But
look at this thing.
It's a tail end Charlie, Jude.
There's nothing else around it.
There's nothing.
It's a freak.
So I did my graduate research on a F4 tornado that hit Spencer, South Dakota in 1998. Is what we call a tail end Charlie. Tail end Charlies are super dangerous because they've separated from the line. And what they can do is they can have a ton of rotation. And so what you'll notice is, Jude here, now you'll notice the hail size is a little bit bigger from the Weather Service. Now they're north of golf ball size hail. So Rick's in here as well. If you could just check, Rick, Let's see if we have any pictures. We know for sure. Before you change that, can we just go back over to weather pics briefly? And this was a picture sent to me on Twitter. This was near the Milton area, where a very obvious cone tornado was occurring. I'm just going to step to the wall briefly just so I can show you. And if you guys can just keep an eye looking for that. If we can give me weather pics here at the wall briefly, just so I can show what was occurring when this moved through the Madison area. So we're sure a tornado touchdown. We don't have any questions about whether that occurred. So looking for weather pics, if we can put that into the weather wall here, guys. By the way, hail size has now been upgraded to 2.5-inch size hail. That's going to be going through VV right now. 2.5 inches, getting close to baseball size hail. Do we have that now where we can go over to weather pics here at the wall? Okay, so here I want you to see, this is the cone tornado right here. So the tornado touching down right here. Now I want you to really clearly take a look here. You see this over here? This is debris being lofted. This is roofs. This is trees. These are lives being changed. This is what's happening. This is what's happening right now. And you can see that debris flying here from the Madison area where you had, Milton area, excuse me, where you had this tornado go through. Our news is working to confirm what we have determined has happened, but we still have a lot of reason to believe that at minimum, we're talking potentially up to baseball size hail right now that's just moved through VV and heading towards Glencoe. It is an extremely dangerous situation. Let's go back now over to Storm View 3D, and I just want to look at what we've got going on within the storm. Jude's got what we call the 2-panel, and it's going to help us look 2 ways. Jude, that black in there in that hook is disturbing. So that now is into the white. That's got to be north of 70. Rick, can you tell me, it looks like we've got a 72 plus dBz pop here.
That is 73.5.
Oh, that's got to be baseball plus.
You know what, Mark? This is up by Kentucky Speedway.
I know it is.
Where they have all of those trucks. Now, I don't know how many are there now, but they use that as basically a parking lot. Ford does, where they park all those trucks and vehicles. And you're talking about baseball-size hail cruising right up and down I-71. Also, for just anyone that's driving along I-71 there, going into Gallatin County, where you're busting out windshields.
Right.
And then there's the wind aspect, where we have a straight line wind potential of 70, 75 miles per hour, maybe hurricane force. And then still that curly-Q hook with that strong inflow, a lot of rotation, and the possibility that there remains a tornado embedded in there. I know on this side, it looks funky. You see almost like psychedelic colors, and you're probably like, I have no idea what's going on here. Yeah. But this is basically telling us that there's hail debris coming down in there. The radar sees that hail, and it doesn't really know how to make it. And then you have the possibility for debris. Some of this up here in Patriot could be debris from the tornado that was on the ground a little while ago, because that gets siphoned up 15,000 feet and then shifted out and shot away from it.
And Jude, I'm going to show while you're over there, there's some of the hail that just fell in the Madison area. That is at least golf ball size, and since then it has gotten larger. You know, what's crazy is we have some signatures now that are showing up. So if we can go back over to our weather graphics, I'm just going to show you guys something that's occurring here, because there's a very obvious sign that there is significant hail in this storm. So what you will notice is the area of hail right now is near VV. That's on the left side of the image. Now I want you to see there is a line that goes away from that of these blues that are in between the pink colors. That's what we refer to as a hail spike. So the hail is so large, it's affected that radar beam moving away from there. This is a slam dunk for huge hail that's occurring at minimum. Monstrous hail right now, just went through VV, is heading basically towards, and we just got a report out of VV, that was 1 inch. So maybe it's coming a little smaller, hopefully, but it's potentially quite large. Carroll County, you're still under the tornado warning right now. This is about to breach our counties and get out of our viewing area. We'll probably stay with it just for a little bit longer, because I know we have some viewers from near the Warsaw area, and it is worth continuing. But, you know, the colors in there.
Belterra Casino.
That's right. Oh, look at how much, it's even bigger now. That, you know, can we mark, what does the radar think? Oh.
3.3. That's baseball to softball size hail.
That nukes cars, that blows through windows, that'll knock siding off of your house, that'll torch roofs. So we've got more images. My news director is inside in the control room giving us information. This is west of Madison. That is baseball size hail. Jen, am I correct in saying that we have crews en route now to Milton, to Madison, and to the Carrollton area? Is that accurate? So my news director in the control room, just making sure that we're on the same page. Do we know do we have crews en route? Do we have crews en route? Can we just ask Jen in there? Okay. And you can see there's another picture with hail falling right now. Obviously, we've got the tornado risk, but it's more than just a tornado risk. We also have the hail concern here. Rick, you're looking at Storm View 3D right now. I'm going to pull that up so you can quickly tell us what you're seeing. The rotation right now, I'm worried we're getting so far away from radar that now it's starting to become a little bit convoluted.
Right. And
we're not able to see what we once were. It still shows rotation, but it doesn't look like we have a tornado debris signature that was basically a guarantee of a tornado.
Right, and you got to know how radar works. So you have the beam at radar, and it's tilted up. So that way it doesn't hit buildings, doesn't hit trees, which means the farther you get from the actual radar source, the higher in the storm you're looking. So what I have is a 2-panel. On the left-hand side, that's reflectivity. It's what we classically show you when you have rain and thunderstorms. On the right is different. That's called velocity. And all that does is sample the wind speed inside of these storms. And what we look for are the greens and the reds banked up right against one another. And that tells us there's really strong rotation. We had that in Milton. And we continue to have some rotation, but not what it quite once was. Now, it does have that classic supercell appearance. You see the body on the north side. That's where you have that big pop of yellow and purple. That's the hail core. The southern side, that's where you are seeing we have debris now showing up.
We've got video of the tornado touching down.
Loading it in
So guys,
right
let's pull up weather pics immediately. So this is the tornado that was going through Madison, Indiana. So you can see here we have video now of the tornado that touched down. You can see it over the Ohio River. I hear this all the time. Tornadoes can't cross the river. Somebody forgot to tell this tornado that. Tornadoes don't care about rivers. They cross right across it, and you can see the tornado going right across the river there. This was in the Madison, Indiana area. There's debris you can see flying through the air. And again, look at it. There comes another piece. Look at the funnel there. See the funnel forming right in the middle there and spinning? This is the tornado that touched down in Madison. Samantha Felix sent us this picture. Guys, one of the things I will say is I can't tell you what to do when it comes to this stuff. Obviously, we need to show what we need to show to try to make sure that people understand what's happening. But this is, I wouldn't advise it. I wouldn't advise it. You could see debris flying out of the sky there. This was Madison, Indiana.
Right across the bridge. It went right over the Madison Bridge.
Went right there. And you could see there's even cars still driving over it, which is crazy. But we did have now a confirmed tornado that we saw by radar. Radar that, visuals now that match the tornado that touched down. We know that in the Milton area, it appears that a trailer, a mobile home was flipped over. Somebody could be trapped inside, and we're assessing.
And we saw the tornado in Milton.
We saw it in Milton.
Image earlier, and we have some more photos and imagery of tree damage, tree limbs down from the Milton area. If we can get to that, Jen Keeney, our news director, said we have some of that to pass along. Those are, yeah. Look at that, Mark and Rick.
I'm going to look closer. So it looks like the trees are stripped down.
Yeah, they are.
Okay, so what I'm seeing here, it appears that at least the trees are stumped. It doesn't. It looks like maybe some of the branches. It doesn't look like all of them were taken down, so that's a positive there. But some of those that were stumped. Okay, here's some trees that were flipped over. To me, right now, I mean, without seeing structures, it's hard to say. But it does look like, you know, obviously a tornado occurred. Okay, that's a little more revealing there. To me, that's probably, you know, I said it at the time. Maybe EF1, EF2, you know, until we get a ground survey on the ground, it'll be tough to say for sure. These tree and hail pictures are coming in from William and Onissa Mason out of the Milton, Kentucky area, and they were on Mitchell Road at Hunter's Heights. But you can see those, some of those trees, that's a sizable tree that was basically stumped there. You know, the radar doesn't look as insane as it once looked in terms of rotation. But Jude, there's still ridiculously large hail potentially that's right south of Warsaw right now.
That's what I wanted to do, a quick recap of the radar. And let's make sure everyone knows that in our viewing area, we have now pushed the worst just to the east, Warsaw, Sparta, eventually Glencoe. So this is moving through Owen County, Gallatin County, just outside of our viewing area that ends at Carroll County and Jefferson County, Indiana. That's Madison, that's Hanover, Jefferson County, Indiana. So at least for our viewing area, the tornadic cell is gone, the hail core is moving out, but now we're showing you what happened as it pushed through Milton, Madison, tornado that was on the ground, that was right on top of the Ohio River crossing the Milton-Madison Bridge. The debris, the damage, the trees, the hail, the destructive hail, not just tiny hailstones. We're talking about hail in some areas that are around 2 inches in diameter, baseballs and dropping apples out of the sky that's busting up everything in its path. So at least we can breathe a little sigh of relief knowing that in terms of any real danger happening currently for Kentuckiana, that is now moving away in Sanders, Kentucky. That's probably our most farthest east community that we cover, is now almost entirely out of the range, still a lightning hazard, but we can give the all clear for Kentuckiana. And we also want to make sure we say thanks to everyone that's been helping out up to this point as we continue to get weather reports in. I know, Rick, you were watching things all morning and all afternoon. You know, if it's your day off, if it's your shift that maybe you're not clocked in just yet, you're still watching the weather.
It never stops.
You have to know what you're getting involved with. So you came into this knowing that there was a possibility for severe storms, and then you get in and see hailstones coming down that are like this big.
Yeah, baseball size and even some approaching grapefruit size. Actually, we have some more pictures, Jude, of some of the damage coming in. So Jen, she said she's got a picture of what appears to be a tree that looks like it got launched, and there's a metal pole, and it seems to be just shredded apart. So it does appear that either we have a tree that fell or perhaps got launched and almost like a projectile, like a missile, right into some sort of metal object. So that just tells you how strong these storms are. It doesn't matter if the wind is rotating or if it's straight line, these things will and can do damage. And we still have the classic supercellular structure. There's rotation. The hail core isn't what it once was, looking at 2-inch hail between, let's say, the Warsaw and the Glencoe area. But this is going to continue north and east. And like I said before, if you're thinking down the line, who could perhaps see some hail? This is areas like Crittenden, Sherman, maybe just north of the Dry Ridge area, where we have the next location inside the swath of this larger hail that could be, like I said before, 2 to 3 inches in diameter. That is some very large destructive hail that will tear apart cars, knock through roofs, cause damage. And you know, you hate to see storms like this impacting communities that you've known, you've driven by, you possibly live there. This is a split screen what we're seeing right now. And Jude's kind of just showing us the worst of the storm in Glencoe right now. Tornado warning continues, and that tornado warning is not over. It's been extended. So the Weather Service telling us that this thing, it's still rotating at any point in time, could drop a tornado, and you still have the velocities where the greens and the reds are coming together. Jude, I'm curious, if we look at the correlation coefficient on the right-hand side of the screen, if we can match up some of the velocity. Okay, so before we saw that donut hole, those blues, and correlation coefficient, what it does, it measures particle sizes in the vertical and also the horizontal. So when they're all the same size, you see this. It's just pink. But when you see the oranges, the yellows, the greens, and especially the blues, it tells you the particles, they're not the same size anymore. You could have bricks, shingles, sheet metal, trees, branches getting lofted up, and that's when you see the debris ball. I am not seeing that sort of same signature which we once did, but Jude, can we match up the velocity with the correlation coefficient and see if we have the two of those matching up? Because if we do, that's when we know we have an issue. So you see some rotation right near the Glencoe area. And we still have, again, some signatures that we could be seeing some debris being lofted. And because we have a history and because we have a reputation of this storm doing damage, you have to be in your safe place. You know what the deal is. Downstairs, underneath something, make sure you're the center part of your home, and please keep away from windows. Jude, you have some new information over there?
I was just going to put that radar history on it so you could show the rotation as it approached Madison, as it moved through the Carrollton area, and now passing on through. If you want to go
what it once was.
point that out, Rick.
Sure. So obviously, you know, Madison, the one location really stands out right there. That's when you see the greens and the reds popping right next to each other. That indicates very powerful rotation, perhaps an EF2, EF3 tornado with that sort of signature, with the winds on both sides spinning so rapidly, so tightly. And then once we get beyond Madison, the signature isn't what it once was. But on Madison, when you look at that, when you look at velocity and you look at correlation coefficient, there is no doubt in your mind that we had a tornado on the ground, and we have video now to back that up. Madison, there's Milton. As we continue over the Ohio River, which you notice, some of that velocity, some of those greens and the reds, they're not as tightly wound up. And that can tell you they are spreading apart, but I do not want you to put your guard down. Remain in your safe place. Mark, you have an update for us?
So I just got this tweeted at me. The city of Milton is going to need a lot of help. It's destroyed, big time damage. Please relay this information. We've got crews that are en route to the area. Obviously, we know that there's some damage. We know that it has occurred. We knew at the time on radar that radar was showing the damage. I'm going to show you on on weather pics if we could. You could see when the tornado was moving through the Milton area, the Madison area. This is specifically when it moved through Madison. And if you look, when the camera comes back up, you're going to be able to see that there was debris flying. So we know for sure that a tornado has hit Madison. It does appear from what we're getting right now that the hail damage, the tornado damage we know was larger, more significant. At least at this point, we know that from the Milton area. Here's from Manville. We just got this picture in showing hail to the size of what's close to baseball size hail. We've got reports all over the place of damage coming in from Madison, Milton, in the VV area. These are areas that we're going to be getting our crews out there to take a look at, to watch. Rick, what I want to do is I want to go really quickly to the wide perspective. What we're going to have to do is we're going to have to return to programming at some point because the tornado threat is no longer in our area.
We've got another good video that's going to be able to go to air here.
Okay, so if we could, when we're ready for the video, let's show that. But Rick, what I want to do is show the wide perspective. Okay, here's video here of the tornado. And where is the location on this one again?
It's right on the river, Milton, Madison locations.
Okay, so you could very clearly see the funnel there. So here's the tornado that's touching down here between the Milton and Madison area. I mean, we know that damage has been done. We will find out the extent of the damage as our crews get there, as people are able to assess from the area. This was a slam dunk when we're looking at it in real time. We knew that a tornado was touching down and doing damage. I do want to show you what we have left at this point. I have an obligation because of the counties we cover, and when the storms leave our county area, what we do is we return to programming. It becomes the responsibility as we move towards different areas, because understand that our signal can't be picked up. So at some point we're not able to talk to the people, for instance, in the Williamstown area along 75. But if you have friends that are near 75, near the Williamstown area, make them aware that a tornado-warned storm is moving there. You can see what happened here. We got what we refer to as a tail end Charlie. And so you'll notice that the storm snuck off the end of the line. Once it snuck off the end of the line, it had all of the moisture, all of the wind energy to work with on its own. A line of thunderstorms can hit a lot more places. An individual thunderstorm can get a lot stronger. We've got a new tornado watch that was just issued to the west. We're going to have to watch this. So the data shows thunderstorms moving in overnight. I will tell you that hopefully overnight our air mass gets worked over a little bit and we don't have to redo this, but there is potential still for severe weather during the overnight hours. What we know at this point right now is tornado has done damage in the Madison area, in the Milton area, across the river, somewhere near Madison, went on to affect the VV area. and continued its march off to the east. As we stand right now, there are no tornado warnings left in effect for our area. So since there aren't any warnings, we're going to return you back to programming. We'll continue to monitor the situation this afternoon. And remember, please stay tuned for us on WDRB News at 4. We're going to update that severe weather threat as we move forward. So keep it right here on WDRB for continuing weather updates.
You have that relationship now.
I know, and I love it's a powerful story.